It got it. Got your picture.
Ain't no film, man.
What?
Ain't no film.
It gives a picture of it.
Ah, the red button is on.
I got a good one of it. Here, look, come look at it. I got your photo. See your photo.
Now we're recording, David. Don't just stand there. I'm taking a moving picture.
Hello? I don't have anything to say.
Well, you're handsome.
So that red light's on. Here we go. Say howdy, Bob.
Huh?
Say howdy.
Hi.
I think the camera likes you.
Is that a sound recorder?
Yep. It's on moving right now.
That's White Mule.
Huh? What's that?
White Mule.
What is that?
Yep. Came from the hills of Alabama.
Oh.
Did you know Abe Schaffner, Tony? The auctioneer.
No, I think I saw him before, but I
He said Mom used to invite him here to have a meal.
There's my dad.
Well,
He's
I
watching
guess he met her and she had to
watching
eat.
Star Trek, looks like.
I used to walk to the cemetery. He kind of did disposal place back there at Point City.
And there's
To see
Uncle
me
Jay.
and holler and wave, I thought
Hi,
he
Jay.
was one of the Nights. That's who he looked like.
That's Taylor.
And then when I called him to come in the garage, Jody suggested I have an auction to sell that equipment, that you get more out of it.
Like pictures
Told me
taken
where
over.
he worked.
Oh, it's good.
you know, you can get people here. You know, they'll come to an auction, but if you say, "Will you come over? I got something you might be in." How are you going to show them through to see all the stuff?
Say hello, Grandfather.
What?
Say hello, Grandfather.
Howdy doody.
That's not what I said to say. You know
Hi,
that.
guy.
But I'm not Guy Hunt. You
No.
know that.
Pretty soon you'll have to turn that off. Right?
I guess there's
What
Commander.
do you do, just plug it into 110 to charge it?
Yeah. There's a little charger here. You plug this in and stick it
Oh,
on the
don't need
charger.
that.
What does that do, like make home movies?
Yeah.
Hi
You-
there,
you
Star
plug it on your
Trek
TV
people.
set with a video.
Sound and all there.
Yeah. That's a stereo. That's the beautiful sound of that one. That is really a good camera. It's about one of the best ones made.
This is me.
You can
You
charge
know that?
2 batteries on there at once.
Hello.
Just plug it in, stick it on, the little green light comes on when it's charged, so that's when you know it's charged up full.
Of what?
Sports, show traffic, music,
Joe Huntsville is leading the state because they want to have good schools and good facilities. People are very envious of us, and it's all we can do. And you know, I'm glad that you have the allocated money. The money's coming from the 1 cent sales tax that the city council has allocated for us. A part of that is the city capital. I'm able to take that money, put it into playgrounds and other areas, technology, and so forth. So the city of Huntsville, the community, the Chapman community, all you do is support you have at your school.
Your daddy would love that. Come on, man, let's go find Ashley. Teachers.
In your literature, this said Jim Adair and Tony Libhart, and Jim is on a job outside of the plant out west, so he wasn't able to come over, and he said, do you feel all right about taking that for the hour and a half, the whole hour and a half? Speakers are kind of like, I guess they're a weird bunch of people, so you're looking at a weird guy here. Well, let's see how weird we can get. What I know should be, I know that a lot of times you guys come to seminars and I go to them in other businesses and around the country. Most of the time, to give you a whole lot of information that's kind of safe for them to say. I want you to know that I'm kind of on your side. I know that it's real tough making the payment at the end of the month on the equipment you guys are buying. You have questions that nobody else will answer, fire them up here at me. If I don't know the answer, it's probably sitting out in this room. Your answers are sitting right there in somebody else's seat. And we're going to get a little crisscross action going here shortly. There are a few basic things. Anybody here real new in business, like say in the last year or two? Got one guy, two people that are sort of new in this business. Okay. I'm going to very quickly go through just a couple of things. Hydraulic system care. Everybody here knows that there's a certain period of time, like once a year, once every 2 years, depending on how you abuse your hydraulic system, whether or not you ever let the hydraulic oil get way hot and let it break down. Hydraulic oil actually does break down if you get too much heat hysteresis in it. In other words, if it's too hot, too long, the oil breaks down. It also causes some of the components to break down. You get early failure on pumps. You get early failure on the motors. Piston seals will go early if the hydraulic system runs hot too long. So just changing the filter isn't the only thing you have to consider. You can change a filter, hydraulic filter, or air filter for your air cleaner too often. I get into reading a lot of things on designs of filters and other components. And the way they're designed, when a filter's new, it lets a lot bigger particles through it than what it's said to leak through. Like, let's say a 10 micron oil filter. When you first plug that sucker in, start up your engine, you're getting 15, 20 micron particles trying to get through that filter. Some do. They make the loop around the system, come back a second time, and probably get caught in that filter, maybe the third or fourth or fifth. That filter starts to get particles clogging up those bigger holes. The bigger particles clog the bigger holes. After it runs, say anywhere from 15 to 30 hours, now it's probably a 10 micron filter. I change that every week, I'm probably doing my piece of equipment more harm than if I have a gauge on that filter that says once I get about 10 to 12 psi back pressure, that's the time to change the filter. That could be a month or two, and it could be a year till that filter needs changed. If I don't change the filter every 2 weeks, I probably paid for the oil that should be changed at the end of the year. You understand what I'm trying to thinking? It's more than just one element, more than just a hydraulic filter that's important in this. Okay? And I said I wasn't going to get into a bunch of redundant things, but I'm going to try to present some information in a way that maybe it means a little bit more to you, makes a little more sense. It's the way we think about it. The air cleaner filter, changing that thing too often is equally as important as messing up the oil system. Let me ask a question just for my benefit. How many people here have a restriction indicator on the air filter of your unit? That's maybe 20%. There's a lot of potential dangers out there if you don't monitor the engine air filter very, very critically, very closely. I'm kind of surprised that there's not at least 70% of them using those restrictor indicators, and they're really cheap.
I also just had my deal with telling you I'd like to take out the canister filter, take it out, blow it off, get all the dirt out of it, put it back in. He said no, he said once you break that seal, you can put that back in again and the dirt's going to go by there. He said put that $60, cost $60 for the filter. Put that $60 filter and move it back in again.
But do you have the indicator?
Yeah, he said don't take it out there for that indicator button tells you so.
That's right. Exactly right. He's giving you good information. Are you aware that the filter manufacturers right now are pretty much of them are all redesigning the seals that's on the filter? You know, you stick that canister in there, got the little seal on the end of it, it's supposed to seal it. A lot of them are going into redesigning those seals right now because it's real tricky to get that thing in. If it isn't sealed, it's just like you're running without the filter in there because the air is going to take the easiest path, and if there's a little opening, all that dust is pumping everything. The rest, and you probably have air sweepers mixed in there too, because almost everybody doesn't have air sweeper. Okay, on a broom sweeper, the idea is grease it probably a couple of times a day if you're running at 8 hours. About every 4 hours, get out there and there's certain places you're going to grease that sucker. You take that same bearing on an air sweeper, and instead of turning over at about 100 to 200, 300 RPM on mechanical sweeper, on the air sweeper, it's going about 2,000 RPM, maybe 2,500. If you grease that bearing like this man with the broom sweeper would grease it, in about 2 weeks you burn that bearing up. Because what happens in a ball bearing when the ball is running around in that bearing, a little ball, and speed that up to about 2,000 RPM, and here comes the heat. You got a lot of work energy. If you walk through concrete very fast to try it, you sweat. You get hot. That little ball bearing is just like you. Something keep in the back of your mind. You can overgrease a ball bearing when it's revved up. Another thing I'd like to touch on a little bit, because a lot of times I'm in an engineering department, and people call in, they want to talk to an engineer, so I get a lot of calls. I try to put that to a sales and service department. But some people say, well, I got to talk to the engineer because he knows. Well, what I try to do, if you get me on the phone, I don't want to just answer a question, hang the phone up, and hope that you don't call back. Because if you're still having a problem, and I know you do, I'm going to call you back until I know you're running. But I get calls on things like, I have a hydraulic valve, and it was working real good. I put a new section on it, and now the one that I put on one's working, but the one beside it stopped. There's an important thing on a hydraulic valve, especially a stack valve, is that torque on that tie rod. A lot of people will change that valve and they tighten them nuts up and they think, I just got to get it good and tight so it's not leaking. When the manufacturer makes those valves, there's about 20 different manufacturers right here in the States that make the stack type valve. And every one of them is fighting for everybody's business. So they make them just strong enough that you tighten them up to a certain torque, a certain tension on those rods. And if you over tension those rods, those castings or machined aluminum blocks start to squeeze together, and the spools in there, when you move those valves, got about 3/millionths of an inch clearance. Those valve spools are latched in there. And if you over tighten that metal, believe it or not, that metal, kind of like your human flesh when you get a lot of pressure on it, and it distorts. And those holes that those little valves are in, instead of being nice and round, the same size as a valve, or just over it, they start to egg shape, and that valve will lock up. Well, a number of times, we've been able to solve guys' problems of sticking valves by telling them to retort that valve body. And each manufacturer of the valve has a specification that they can tell you, this is the torque you should have one. Back it off, retorque it about 5 out of 6 times. That's a problem on a hydraulic stack valve if the valve's sticking. And how often do you tell a person, try to advise them, keep the unit as clean as you can keep it? Especially an air sweeper. Everybody here has an air sweeper. You got to have air going through the system. If you don't let the air go through the system freely, it can't work. If I turn the damper off on my furnace at home, don't let the air go through the house, it ain't going to stay warm or cool. You know, it's kind of the way I look at maintenance on a sweeper, like anything else, is stop, don't do anything for a while, sit down and start thinking, wait, what all do I know? What all's going on? Stop everything else and sit down and start concentrating on it. The way you solve any problem in your life is the way you raise your kids. You got to stop, sit down with them, hear them, get the facts, think, make a good decision. You can make a good decision if you got all the facts. I'm supposed to be talking about sweepers, and I guess I'm talking about ethics. I do realize that when a guy first starts out, doesn't have a big facility, just got a little garage or maybe working out of your house, kind of hard to find the right place to go and clean a sweeper. Then you look at the person that's been in business for 10, 12 years, got a nice facility. One thing he's going to have a place to clean that sweeper out, because you start realizing after a while, it's very important to keep that sucker clean. Even when you keep it clean, it rusts out plenty fast, right? Rubbers and curtains, and the brushes, and the skids. Now, I gave you the monotone of the first few minutes. So what I would like to do is hear questions from the floor. I know you're sitting there saying, if we ever get anybody from a factory or representing a manufacturer, if I can ever get anybody to really answer a question, I will try to answer anybody's question, no matter what it is. And if I don't know it, or we get to the point where we get manufacturers going to get into arguments, hold up, and we'll ask all of them and come out with an answer for you, and we'll get it to you. Anybody having any...
net that goes over it, with another pre-filter. Have you seen those?
Okay, the nut on the pre-fill. Now I've seen
No,
that.
not the nut, the net. But it's a pre-filter and a net that goes over it.
Okay, as long as the net's not restrictive, you know, any layer, if you have, what you're doing, you're getting a fourth layer, putting that net on. You can get a fifth or a sixth, fine. As long as you don't rob air from the engine. And what they're doing, they're trying to keep bugs away from that. You know, the bug hits it, breaks up into pieces, that'll get in there and start to contaminate the engine too. And it also thoroughly clog that filter. They're trying to get you more a filter, keep bigger debris out. And the closer you get to the inside of the filter, the finer the filtering is going to take place. They're just trying to break off the loose falling dust, which could be good in a sweeper, because no matter how much we tell you, we got the dust under control. Let's be real, man. Sweepers stir up dust, period. The main thing that a sweeper, the reason a sweeper has a dust separator in it, some kind of filtering, yeah, it's to help keep the dust down so that somebody seeing that sweeper go by don't run to the police department. They're making all kinds of dirt over there, all kinds of noise. That dust separator is to keep as much dust from going through the fan and the system as possible. And if it wasn't in there, instead of that sweeper wearing out in 3 or 4 years, you're going to have to do some wear out maintenance in 1 year. Makes the fan last longer and all the components. You just try to pull as much of the dust out as you can. What the dust filters and separators and sweepers do, they don't really get the fine stuff. And the fine stuff's what's making the clouds. They're getting the big stuff out of there, the big particles. But just think about it. Here comes a fan running about 200 miles an hour, and here comes a little dust particle in to hit that fan. The bigger that particle is, that hits that fan, little gouge in that fan. There's billions and trillions of them little particles wanting to get to that fan. We want to take it from the trillions and try to hold it down to the billions of particles per hour. That's what a dust separator is for in a sweeper. If somebody tells you we have one, that you won't have any dust in this sweeper. I didn't say that.
Vacuum fan? What fan do you recommend?
I'm talking about, since everybody here, I think, has at least one vacuum sweeper or air sweeper. Go ahead. If you have more information.
No, I was you were specifying. You were talking about vacuums when you're talking about it getting to the fan and breaking down the impeller.
Well, I'm talking any air sweeper that uses a fan to move the air through the system, whether it's a vacuum type sweeper or a regenerative sweeper.
Right, you're talking about the impeller. The impeller.
Yep, right.
What can you take that information and switch it over to the broom? What damage is going on to the broom sweeper?
By the dirt? Well, in the elevator, but the thing is to go through the whole system and end up in the hopper. And the fan is replacing the broom in the back, and it's replacing the elevator.
In the cab for the operators. I mean, there's a pressure gauge for your oil for the main engine, but they're not putting a standard temperature gauge or a pressure gauge in the cabs.
Okay.
Timco doesn't do it, Schwartzy doesn't do it, Athey doesn't do it.
Any of us will do it if it's requested.
Well,
but to put it in as a standard.
they stress the importance of it, but yet they're not putting it in there.
Here's part of the challenge. Here's a straight answer to you, as straight as I can be. If one manufacturer puts it in and the other ones don't, his price starts to go a little higher. A manufacturer can put everything in that everybody ever dreamed about, every one. You're going to have to pay the price for it because he can't put it in and not get paid for it. But if you want it in your equipment and you say, I'm speccing it, that's the way I'll buy it, the manufacturer puts it in for you. After a few years, and that's from 1 to 50 years this is going on, other manufacturers say, boy, they're selling a lot of sweepers with that on there, and that's helping them sell it. The day comes when that's standard.
Tony, correct me.
That's how it works.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's not even on the menu right now. And when you buy a gauge package, that's an option, and you understand that you're going to pay extra money for that, but that's not in the gauge package either.
Yeah, but you can put it on. We do put it on. There are people that order it.
But you say you don't do it because it adds more to the cost of the unit. But what I'm saying is it's not even an option on the option.
Yeah, because it has not been a popular request.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's one of the most important units on your truck.
Maybe they need to educate the average buyer. A lot of people don't know when they first get into business.
See, those are the kind of questions, and thank goodness we'll get everything you guys are talking about is being written down, being recorded. Now, I want things on those sweepers too. You don't know how I've got to fight to convince owners of the company to let us do certain things.
I'm 100% familiar with the Murphy broom, 89. And I can relate to what they're talking about the oil gauge. And when I came in, you were talking a little bit about how important it is to watch your hydraulic oil temperature. So that is extremely important, and it's something that I don't understand either. You offer a $3,000 option for an automatic greaser from Murphy. My experience is, it doesn't work. We took it apart, didn't use it. We put hand grease fittings on it. It's important to grease those bearings every day. By the way, I run my broom sweeper at 1,800 RPM. So you're getting up close to what you were referencing for vacuum RPMs. But anyway, take away that option, or just have that in the option page of the catalog for the Murphy, which I'm looking at to buy a new one, and offer that option for that hydraulic oil temperature gauge, and all that information on that auxiliary engine, the John Deere auxiliary engine, should be in that cab along with that commercial chassis. All that oil pressure, hydraulic oil temperature, those are all extremely, extremely important things to have to the operator, because that's what's going to break down and ruin or have you shut down for a day. I've had the Murphy, as a matter of fact, thinking about it.
Once there was a guy with a little long hair, Costa.
Oh, Costas Cordonis, yes.
Just gave him a list of things, and I don't think nothing was addressed. But in any case, a couple of things that bothers me. The lifters for the heads.
Yeah, cylinders.
Some kind of, no, not the cylinder itself, I mean the stoppers.
Oh, the stop, yeah.
Change the material, they're rough, they're not, they adjust themselves, I don't think just the right design. I suggest, as a matter of fact, a couple of things. When I brought up some stuff, I suggested something that I did my own in my garage for the trucks. It works a lot better. But I didn't see them coming on the new truck. I actually watched to see if they did the changes. Some other things, the plate on the gutter broom is bigger than the broom. I mean, I can cut it, but why don't you manufacture it a little smaller? You can use the broom block more. If it's too big, then you get to the side of the curve. You hit the curve all the time. You got to change them earlier. If you do the plate just a little smaller, you can use it until the.
Yeah, you mean because that disc is out a little bit
right.
past the plastic?
That's right.
Well, in a cold weather, we used to make that disc the same diameter as the top of the plastic. Training is the responsibility of the guy that owns that sweeper. I know if I were in the sweeper business and if I owned one, I would kind of surprise anybody I had hired as an operator. I wouldn't know what he's doing with that unit. It's really important. I remember over in Little Rock one time I took an owner who had some competitive units that I was trying to sell him.
You put any material that's going to be dumped in the landfill in that, and if a drop of water comes out the other end, then by the letter of the law, you can't dump it in the landfill. So that's something that nobody has to date had trouble with, as far as we know, that just uses a water system. But I have to wonder if there was somebody enforcing that here, whether that would pass that test.
I think Georgia's lighter than most people on their restrictions.
Well, it's national, but that doesn't mean they're not. Yeah, they may not be enforcing it, but there's going to be more enforcement. EPA is, with the Stormwater Act, is really gearing up.
Ranger, I brought that question up about.
I think we got several real good points out of this, and I appreciate everybody's participation.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they got it. If anybody has any article ideas or helpful hints, come talk to me, please. Anything you'd like to see written about?